notification, and then I'm going to share my screen. If you are not able to see my screen, that's a PowerPoint slide. Please type that in the chat. Hopefully everything is going a-okay. I'm going to keep moving a few things out of my way here. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is what employers care about specifically when hiring new college graduates. This is a slide deck that I put together, I think 3 years ago now, maybe 2. And then over the last few weeks, I've updated all the stats and redid it. And so now we're launching it again, where you might think about offering this to students in the near future as well. So here's what we're going to cover. I'm just going to do a really brief intro of our center for those of you who might not be as familiar with us, give you some facts and stats about what employers want, kind of summarize what that might all mean for students, and then share the most relevant resources that we have that can help students. So first, our vision is very big. We really want all Huskies to graduate career ready, regardless of their academic background, their personal background. It's a very big vision. And the students that would come to see us as opposed to another career center on campus are about 25,000 undergrads, 9,000 grad students, and we also take appointments with new graduates up to 3 years as well. So we have a big vision. We do not have a big team, so these are all the lovely people who work in our office. We have a team of 12, and then we have right now 5 student employees, which bring us a lot of joy and provide a lot of service as well. So these are the friendly faces, and we are standing in front of our front door, which is located in Mary Gates Hall. So if you walk in the main doors across from Suzzallo Library, we occupy the right side of the MGH Mary Gates Hall Commons. And this is just sort of what our front looks like in case you want to help orient somebody to find our space. All right, but what we really want to talk about is what employers are looking for. Most of what I will present in this section is from studies conducted by the National Association of Colleges and Employers. That is our national association. So they pair college career centers and the early career recruiters at different companies who specifically hire college graduates, new college grads. So I'm going to talk about 3 sections. The first section is academics. Nearly 1/4 of employers in this survey hire college graduates in any major. So that's in this 3rd row. So any majors, regardless of what they are, what they relate to, which I think is pretty powerful. About that same amount really only hire a couple of majors. My best guess is those are engineering employers and a few other areas like accounting or elementary education. But then there's this 51% who, yeah, they have a few target majors, but they also accept some related majors as well. So I do think it's important that students know that, yes, major can be super important to some employers in some industries, but for a lot of employers and a lot of industries, major is, I'm not going to say not important, but they will consider majors, a lot of different majors when they hire. The next part of academics is GPA. Yes, I will share the recording and the slide deck. Thank you for that question, Daniel. So we looked at GPA a couple different ways. One is we looked at our Handshake postings, and Handshake is a national job and internship posting database specifically targeted to new college grads. We looked in our instance of Handshake for a year, and we looked at first the national. So for internships, 83% of employers did not care about the GPA at the time of making a job description, and 97% didn't care about it for jobs. What we have historically seen is that employers in the West care even less about GPA than employers in other parts of the country. And it's not dramatic, but a little bit more of them don't post a GPA in their job description and minimum GPA. If a GPA was listed, the average was 2.9. And as of this presentation, I don't have distinctions between industries and internships or jobs, but I'm going to look into that. I will also say that it varies by industry. At least I'm hoping for a lot of areas of engineering. They care that you've done well in your bridge design classes, for example. So there might be some majors in some industries where GPA is much more important than others. And also the studies and the stats are not necessarily consistent. So compare this, which are actual postings in Handshake, to the national data from the National Association of Colleges and Employers. They've been tracking this. They do a survey of employers every year. And GPA, the number of employers who care about GPA was trending downward quite a bit for several years. Now it's starting to go back up again, according to this survey. So I'm not exactly sure what to make of it. Maybe this survey had mostly employers who don't post in Handshake, or maybe these employers are, more specific to quote unquote professional industries. Or maybe, as I put at the bottom, maybe employers don't list it in their job description, which is what the Handshake slide said, but they actually do screen a little bit for them once they actually look at resumes. I'm not really sure. So, not to be confusing, but in general, I don't want students to overemphasize GPA, because a lot of employers in a lot of industries will not look at it very much or screen by it or care if it's a 4.0. Okay. So that's a little bit about academics. Now I want to talk about skills. This year was the first time NACE asked in their employer survey if employers were using a skills-based approach. Generally, how this is defined is that they are focusing more on the articulated skills, perhaps demonstrated skills and competencies that candidates have, versus whether or not they even have a degree, what their major is, whether they had internships. So 65% of them said yes. And there has been a lot of talk about this amongst employers and in articles over the last few years. I will say a lot of them were already doing it. I mean, if you have an interview rubric, probably you're asking questions about the skills from the job description. Probably when you're screening candidates, you are looking for specific skills in the resumes. But I do think this has increased. So being able to articulate specific competencies is becoming more important to a lot of employers. When we talk about competencies, what NACE did is they put together very hardworking group of employers with also some career center professionals to look at the competencies that are most commonly needed by a range of employers right when they hire new college grads. This came out in 2018, about 2015, and then they just revised it more recently. So these are what the 8 are. I'll show you how you can find this on our website as well. So this is a figure that showcases those 8 competencies I just showed you. and how new graduates rate their proficiency and how employers rate new grads' proficiency. As you might see, there are some pretty stark differences. In general, with students thinking more highly of their proficiency than employers think of students' proficiency. Teamwork was pretty close. And technology was pretty close. The rest of them not very close, indicating that perhaps students are a little overconfident in the competencies that they have, and also maybe a mismatch between how they think of their competencies and how they play out in school versus how employers are thinking about competencies in the workplace. So we have some ways to go here in terms of helping our students really fully develop these competencies and ways and describe them in ways that really speak to what is going to be needed in a workplace. And the third section I'll talk about is experience. The next slide I have is from an older version of the NACE survey. It's from 2023. This was not included in the most recent NACE survey, and I have reached out to NACE to see if they ask the question and have this, because they're communicating the results from the most recent survey in a different way. So I'm looking for that. But this is the influence of attributes. So when you're looking at two really great candidates, what's going to maybe take priority? And the top two, for a while, have been having some type of internship. And you can tell that internship is also higher than major, higher than leadership roles, higher than GPA. Now, there are some employers who do care about those other things. I'm not trying to dismiss them, but having career-related experience through an internship has always been valuable. And I think even if more employers are doing skills-based hiring, that experience is still going to be important. So those are the facts that I know as of now. And what I tried to do is, what does it all mean? You know, if I were to, so these next slides are really kind of aimed towards students. Aim for a balanced or blended approach to make yourself maximally marketable for a range of jobs, because you don't know exactly where you might end up applying. Focus on building all three of these things: academic knowledge, career readiness competencies, and co-curricular experiences. So some combination of those is probably going to be what is necessary. What that also means is we don't want students to overemphasize on any one area. So most students will not need 3 majors and a minor, because they're trying to go I'm going to prove my value by just the academic part of this equation. Generally not necessary. They also, in the vast majority of cases, are not going to need a 4.0 GPA or like 4 internships, right? As you do as well, we see students wide ranging, from students who were looking at their resume and thinking, what have you done for 4 years? And students that we're like, how have you slept the last 4 years? So they definitely don't need all of those things, right? So if they really enjoy one of those, then do it a little bit more, do really good in your schoolwork or do a couple of internships, but they don't need to really overdo it. And remember that each situation is quite unique. Some careers do require specific majors. Some job postings emphasize GPA more than others. Some will have a higher GPA listed. As we talked about earlier, maybe they don't list a GPA, but they still care about it a little bit. So there's not a generalized statement that I can make about employers. Some employers will really want an internship experience, something that is called that on a resume. Others will think more broadly. Has a student been deeply involved in volunteer work? Have they had just any kind of random paying job, but for a long time where they've developed a lot of skills? Have they been a leader in a significant way in a student org? Internships pretty much always look good, but other things can look good as well. Sometimes internships aren't a good fit for students. And the unique blend that makes one student marketable is going to be different than what works for another student and what they're looking for. I know students talk to their friends a lot and compare themselves to others a lot, and I can't control that human behavior tendency, but people need to figure out what is going to make them most marketable for the types of things they're applying for based on their blend of skills, experiences, and academic skill area. It is also super important that students learn how to showcase the things. We just encourage them to develop. They can have all the wonderful things in the world, but if they can't talk about it in a resume, in a cover letter, online profiles, or interviews, they're still going to come up short when it comes to landing offers. So we offer a lot of resources to help them articulate all the things to potential employers. Okay. So good timing. I'm just going to share some of the resources that we have to help specifically with these areas. And then I will also include many of these links in the follow-up email that I'll send either today or tomorrow. This is a relatively new one. It's called the Career Readiness Plus Inventory. Students can take it more than once. It looks at the 8 NACE competencies, but also looks at a few other areas that are important for professional development. And they can take it and kind of see what their level is in these different areas. Then they can take it again to see if they're feeling more confident and they've done more things like talking to faculty and things that the questions ask about. So they can figure out a baseline and then figure out if they've improved. We also have this fillable PDF where students can get ideas for how to develop competencies, write how they've already gained it, and have a plan for how they're going to continue to develop in these areas. We have a couple of online platforms that specifically focus on developing skills and knowledge. One is LinkedIn Learning, which all of you have free access to as well. They can learn about personal topics like how to take really good iPhone pictures, classroom-related topics, different programming languages and stuff I don't understand, self-management, wellness, resilience, how to do well in an interview, how to manage yourself well when you get in a job, all kinds of good stuff. I love LinkedIn Learning. Forage is interesting. They are several hour-long job simulations. So students can choose one that relates to what they're interested in and actually kind of go through a process of what it would be like if they worked for that employer doing that type of project. This can't go on a resume as an internship, but I do think students could say that they had done these somewhere on their resumes, on their LinkedIn profiles. A lot of what's important to employers is that students are interested in the area and they're committed to growing. So if they can show that they've taken LinkedIn Learning courses and they've done some job simulations, it can help an employer understand the level of sort of passion and dedication, especially in times when maybe the major isn't a direct match. We have a whole page about internships with 4 subpages for people to learn what they are, learn how to find or create an internship, learn how to do a really great job. And the page that nobody ever clicks on is reflect and strategize after an internship. And hopefully most of you have heard about Handshake. It is our job and internship platform, like we talked about earlier. What I went in and did is I searched by internship. You can filter a lot of different ways. I found almost 9,000 internships. This was a couple weeks ago. That's generally around that. This actually might be more. January is typically a really big, hot time for posting internships for employers. Then people can click, learn more about them, apply, sometimes through Handshake, or sometimes you click on a button to like apply on the employer's website. Okay. This slide is very wonky, so I tried to get a lot on one side. We have a lot of different recruiting events like career fairs, and at those fairs, there's always internships being recruited for as well. If you go to our student event calendar, and you can filter by job and internship fairs if you want. We also have a page, just /career fairs, where we list all of the upcoming fairs. Our plan right now is to offer an in-person and a virtual fair every quarter. I can't guarantee that will always be the case. We're having a harder time filling our virtual fairs as the years go on. I like virtual fairs. I think they have a place, but if we can't attract employers, we might have to rethink that, but that's what's planned right now. I know fairs can be kind of intimidating, so we do have photos and tips of both types of fairs, in person and virtual, on these websites so that we can help empower and give students confidence. Couple more things. Even though I don't really want to be known as just the resume center, resumes are incredibly important. So, and I will say most people are not naturally skilled at talking about themselves and describing their experiences in a way that's compelling. So we have pages dedicated to building online profiles, building resumes, cover letters, interviews. Those are 4 separate pages. Each page has videos, recorded webinars, templates, all kinds of really good stuff for all different types of learning styles. We highly encourage students to check those out when they're ready to start trying to figure out how to articulate their academic knowledge, skills, and experiences. We also offer a couple of specialty services. So we have a Husky Career Closet. Students can come in from 11:30 to 3:30 on business days, and they can look through our 2 rooms of clothes and select one outfit, and they get to keep it. This is specifically for students who, do not have the money to buy these types of clothes on their own, but anybody is welcome. And we fund this, some with an employer donation that we got, and also alumni and staff donate clothes. And we also have a professional headshot booth. So students or staff or faculty, you're welcome to come and use it. It doesn't require an appointment. It's right inside our front door. It's pretty self-explanatory. You sit there, take 3 shots. If you don't like them, you just do another session and take 3 more photos. We have 2 or 3 people using, 2 or 3 dozen people using this a week. It's really fun. I like when students come in with their friends and they're either cheering each other on and giving them good coaching or kind of razzing them. That's fun too. Okay. 3:56. I do not have any more slides, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to move something real quick. Actually, let me stop the share. As a reminder, I will send a follow-up email with as much information as I can that you can just click on if you would like to. I'm also going to give you a link where you can join our Career Readiness Partner newsletter. So I know a lot of you hear about these events through the advisors listserv or the career group listserv, which is fine. But twice a quarter, I do a prettier email to people who have signed up who have subscribed to our website are staff or faculty. That's how you get added to that list. It's all through an integrated system. So I'll send out a link if you would like to join that program as well. So let's see. Just looking at questions. Yes, slide deck. I'll try to do the recording and the PowerPoint so you have everything in one place. Anybody, oh, let's see, I have something in the Q&A. So I had a question. Have you seen a trend where students are changing their major based on what kind of internships are available? Well, I will say, first of all, I'm not really the best person in my office to answer this because I don't work directly with students much. That has not come up when we've talked about things that are happening in coaching appointments. So it's possible that it's happening, but it hasn't bubbled up to me. Sorry, that's not super helpful. Okay, I think I am going to go ahead and close this down. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the respond to my email, and I'll try to get back to you. My email is, sorry, I know my email. I was just debating whether to put the slide back up that had my email address on it, but it's just my first name, BRIANAKR. And you're always welcome to be in touch with me. Part of the thing that gets me up in the morning is really being able to build the ecosystem, equip campus partners who we know are more likely to ask you questions than they are and come and ask us. That's an important part of my role and one that I love. So never hesitate to reach out and ask questions. All right. Have a good afternoon and evening. Thanks, everyone.